Look closely at two men standing side by side at a valet stand outside a nice restaurant. The first is impossible to miss. A gleaming leased German sedan, a huge shining watch catching the light, a designer belt with the logo the size of a fist, and he's loud, telling a story about his last trip to Dubai, tipping the valet a crisp bill so everyone can see it. The second man you'd walk right past. Plain jacket, a watch you couldn't describe if your life depended on it, an ordinary sedan a few years old, saying almost nothing. Now if I asked you to bet which one was a millionaire, you'd point at the first man in a heartbeat. And you would very likely be pointing at the person who was drowning in debt, one missed paycheck from collapse, while the man you ignored owns 3 businesses and a portfolio you'll never hear about. This is the great illusion of modern life, and today I'm going to shatter it for you. Because here's the truth almost nobody understands. Looking rich and being rich are not the same thing. In fact, they are often opposites. Real wealth is silent. It sits in accounts, in assets, in ownership you cannot see. But fake wealth is loud, because fake wealth has only one job: to be seen. So the louder someone screams money at you, the more you should wonder who they're screaming it to convince, you or themselves. By the end of this, you're going to have a lie detector for money. 17 specific real-world signs that someone is performing wealth they don't actually have. And once you can see them, you cannot unsee them. You'll spot them at parties, at work, on your feed, maybe even in your own mirror. And here's the promise. The last few signs are the sharpest, the ones that separate the truly broke from the truly wealthy in ways that will genuinely surprise you. So let's build your detector, one sign at a time. Sign number 1, the car costs more than the house is worth. Picture a modest, slightly run-down apartment building or a small rented house and parked out front, gleaming under a streetlight, an $80,000 luxury SUV that costs more than everything the person owns combined. This is the single most common tell there is. The genuinely wealthy tend to buy homes and modest cars, because a house is an asset that grows and a car is a rock that sinks in value the second you drive it off the lot. The person faking it does the reverse, pours everything into the thing parked in the driveway, the thing the neighbors can see, while renting the roof over their head. Picture the car worth 3 times the furniture inside the home behind it. That is not the math of a rich person. That is the math of someone buying a costume. Sign number 2. Every logo is enormous and everywhere. Picture a man wearing a belt with a giant metal logo, a shirt with the brand printed across the entire chest, sunglasses with the name screaming down the arm, a bag covered corner to corner in a repeating pattern. Now picture genuinely old money, a plain beautifully made sweater with no logo at all, because they don't need you to know what it cost. Here's the rule. The truly wealthy buy quality and quality speaks in whispers. The fake wealthy buy logos because the logo is the entire message. When someone is a walking billboard for luxury brands, they're not showing you wealth. They're showing you a receipt, and often a financed one. Sign number 3. They can tell you the price of everything they own, unprompted. Picture a person at a dinner party, and within 10 minutes they've told you what their watch cost, what their shoes cost, what they paid for the bottle of wine, and how much the vacation set them back. None of which you asked. Real wealth almost never discusses prices because to them the price isn't remarkable. But to the person faking it, the price is the accomplishment. Picture someone who can't hand you a glass without mentioning the vineyard in the cost. They're not sharing. They're performing an invoice. Sign number 4, the flashiest phone upgraded every single year. Picture a person pulling out the newest, largest, most expensive phone the very week it releases, in the flashiest color, while their bank app underneath is a horror show. The newest phone every year is one of the most reliable small tells of fake wealth, because it's a visible status object that resets annually and everyone can see. The actually wealthy person is often on a phone that's 2 or 3 years old with a cracked corner, because they genuinely do not care what you think their phone says about them. Picture the battered old phone in the hand of the person who could buy the whole store, and the brand new one in the hand of the person who financed it over 24 months. Sign number 5. They're always picking up the check, loudly. Picture a man at a large dinner grabbing the bill out of the server's hand, waving away everyone's cards with a big theatrical gesture, making absolutely sure the entire table sees him do it. There's a difference between quiet generosity and a performance, and the tell is the volume. Real generous wealth often handles the check before anyone notices, or splits without fuss. The fake version needs an audience, because the point was never the meal, it was the show of being the man who can afford the meal. Picture him insisting, loudly, 3 times, while inside he's calculating whether this puts him over his credit limit. Sign number 6, the lifestyle doesn't match the known income. Picture a mental split screen. On one side, a person's job, an entry-level position, a modest salary everyone roughly knows. On the other side, their life, designer clothes, weekend trips, bottle service, a car payment that should be impossible. When a lifestyle visibly outruns the paycheck by a mile, the gap isn't being filled by secret wealth. It's being filled by debt. Picture that split screen with a thin bridge stretched between the small paycheck and the huge lifestyle, and picture that bridge is made entirely of credit cards. That's not prosperity. That's a countdown. Sign number 7, they rent the symbols of wealth by the hour or the day. This is a real and growing thing, so picture it clearly. There are companies that rent luxury cars for a photo shoot, fake private jet sets built inside warehouses, where you can pay to take pictures pretending to fly private, rented designer bags, even rented mansions by the hour for content. Picture a person posing on the staircase of a mansion they've rented for 90 minutes, in front of a jet that never leaves the ground, holding a bag they'll return tomorrow. An entire industry now exists to help broke people manufacture proof of wealth they don't have. When the lifestyle only ever appears in photos and never in continuous real life, you are looking at a rental, not a reality. Sign number 8. They flaunt cash. Picture someone fanning out a thick stack of $100 bills, filming it, spreading it across a bed, holding it up to their ear like a phone. Here's what you need to understand. Genuinely wealthy people rarely handle physical cash in large amounts because their money is working, invested, moving through accounts and assets, not sitting dead in a pocket to be photographed. A giant wad of cash is not a sign of wealth. It's a prop. Picture that the same stack gets used in a dozen different videos, and picture that half the bills in the middle might be singles. The cash flash is theater, and it's aimed straight at people who don't know what real money looks like, which is to say, mostly invisible. Sign number 9, everything is about the appearance of the appearance. Picture a person at a beautiful restaurant who doesn't eat the food. They photograph it. Who doesn't enjoy the trip, they document it. Whose entire vacation is a series of poses in front of things, each one uploaded before the moment is even over. When a life is lived entirely for the camera, when every experience exists mainly to be shown to others, that's a powerful tell because real enjoyment doesn't need an audience. Picture someone standing in front of the Eiffel Tower for 45 minutes trying to get the shot, and never once actually looking at the tower. The performance has replaced the life. Sign number 10. They name drop wealth constantly. The places, the people, the brands. Picture a conversation where a person can't get through 3 sentences without mentioning the exclusive club they went to, the celebrity they sort of met, the neighborhood they're thinking of buying in, the school their kids might attend. Real wealth has nothing to prove, and so it stays silent on all of this. The person faking it drops names like breadcrumbs, hoping you'll follow the trail to a conclusion about how important they must be. Picture the name drops piling up on the table between you like a stack of business cards for a life they don't actually live. Now, before we get to the sharper signs, let me pull back and show you why all of this happens, because understanding the engine makes every sign click into place. Picture 2 invisible forces. The first is a very old human wiring. For almost all of history, status was survival, and visible signals of status meant safety, mates, allies. Your brain still runs that ancient program, and it still reads a flashy display as high status, even though in a modern credit economy, that display has been completely unhooked from actual wealth. The second force is newer and far more powerful. Social media turned every human being into a broadcaster with an audience and handed them a world where the appearance of wealth can be financed, rented, or faked outright. Put those 2 forces together, an ancient brain that worships visible status and a modern machine that lets anyone manufacture it on credit, and you get an entire generation performing a prosperity most of them don't have. Picture a person going into real debt to buy the appearance of not having debt. That's the whole tragic engine, and every sign we've covered is just a symptom of it. Sign number 11. They've never uncomfortable with a real financial question. Watch what happens when the conversation turns to something concrete and unglamorous. A retirement account, an interest rate, how a mortgage actually works. Picture the flashy person's face going blank, then deflecting with a joke or a brag, because their relationship with money is entirely about spending it, not understanding it. Now picture the genuinely wealthy person lighting up, because this is their actual world. Real wealth is built on financial literacy, on knowing how money grows. Fake wealth is built on financial illiteracy, on knowing how money looks. Picture someone who can name every designer on earth but cannot explain what a stock is. That gap tells you everything. Sign number 12. They lease and finance everything and brag about the monthly payment. Picture a person proudly explaining that the luxury car is only a certain amount per month. The watch was on a payment plan, the furniture was 0% financing, the vacation was buy now, pay later. They think in monthly payments, never in total cost or ownership, because thinking in monthly payments is how you make an unaffordable life feel affordable. Picture their entire lifestyle as a row of chains, each one a monthly payment, all of them draining the paycheck the moment it lands. The wealthy own their things outright and think in total cost. The fake wealthy rent their lifestyle from the bank, 1 month at a time, and call the small monthly number a victory. Sign number 13. They get strangely defensive or vague about work and money. Picture asking a simple, friendly question. So what do you do? And watching the person get cagey, Give a grand vague title like entrepreneur or investor with no specifics, or pivot fast to a story about a big deal that's always just about to close. Genuinely wealthy people are usually clear and even modest about what they do, because there's a real boring answer underneath. The performer stays vague, because vagueness is where the fantasy lives. Picture a business card that just says CEO of a company that has no product, no employees, and no revenue. Only a logo and a dream. Sign number 14. The wealth appears suddenly and dramatically, with no visible engine behind it. Picture someone whose life transforms overnight. 1 month a normal apartment and a normal car, the next month supercars, designer everything, and constant luxury travel with no clear durable source of income that could actually sustain it. Real wealth is almost always built gradually and rests on an engine you can identify. A business, a career, investments, ownership. Picture a fountain of money with no pipe feeding it, spraying wildly for a while and then sputtering out. When the display is enormous but you cannot find the machine generating it, you're often looking at debt, a windfall being burned, or a straight-up illusion. Sign number 15. They surround themselves with rented status and borrowed settings. Picture a photo that looks like pure wealth, a person in a stunning modern kitchen, a wall of designer shoes, a marble bathroom, and then picture the truth. It's an Airbnb rented for the weekend, a store display, a friend's house, a hotel lobby. The truly telling thing is that the backdrop keeps changing. Picture their home being 3 completely different luxury interiors across 3 months, because none of them was ever theirs. Real wealth has a consistent, real setting, the same actual home, the same actual life, week after week. Fake wealth is a traveling stage set, and the location is always someone else's. Sign number 16. And this one is subtle and powerful. They treat service workers badly to feel powerful. Picture a person at a restaurant being condescending to the waiter, snapping their fingers, name-dropping to the manager, demanding special treatment, making a scene about how important they are. Here's a truth that almost never fails. The genuinely secure and wealthy are usually gracious to service staff, because they have nothing to prove and their status isn't in question. The person faking it uses rudeness as a status display, treating people below them poorly to feel above them, because feeling above someone is a substitute for the security real wealth would provide. Picture the loud tantrum over a table, and understand you're watching someone borrow a feeling of importance they can't afford to buy any other way. And now sign number 17, the deepest one, the one that ties the entire video together. They are visibly constantly stressed underneath the shine. Look past the display at the eyes, the tension, the checking of the phone, the flicker of panic when a card is handed over, the way the mood curdles the second the audience leaves. Because here's the thing performing wealth actually costs. It's exhausting, and it's terrifying, and it's expensive, and the person doing it lives one declined transaction, one lost follower, one missed payment away from the whole illusion collapsing. Picture the confident smile in the photo, and then picture the same person 20 minutes later, alone in the car, staring at a banking app with their stomach in knots. Real wealth, remember, buys one thing above all else: peace. The absence of money stress, so when you see a lavish display wrapped around a person who is visibly, chronically stressed about money underneath it, you have found the purest sign of all, because they have paid for the look of wealth with the one thing wealth is actually supposed to give you. So let me show you what all 17 signs look like when they land in a real life. Because the difference is bigger and stranger than you'd ever guess. Picture 2 people who live on the same street, earn a similar income, and from a distance seem to be doing about the same. Call them the show and the substance. The show is the one everyone assumes is winning. Picture the least luxury car, the logos, the check grabbing, the constant travel photos, the new phone, the name drops, the rented backdrops. Everyone on the street looks at the show and thinks, now there's someone who made it. But picture behind their front door, a rented home, a maxed out stack of credit cards, a car they can barely make payments on, a retirement account with almost nothing in it, and a person who lies awake doing frantic math. One bad month from the entire thing crumbling. The show has spent every dollar and then borrowed more to look rich. And it worked. Everyone believes it. And it's a prison. Now picture the substance, the neighbor nobody looks at twice. Same income roughly. Picture the modest paid-off car, the plain clothes, the phone with the cracked corner, the home they actually own a growing piece of, the boring index funds compounding in the background, the small emergency fund that means a broken furnace is an annoyance and not a catastrophe. Nobody on the street thinks the substance is rich. There's nothing to see. But picture behind their door, no debt, real ownership, growing wealth, and a person who sleeps soundly because a surprise bill can't touch them. The substance looks broke and is quietly building a fortune. The show looks rich and is actually broke. Same street, same income, opposite truths. And the entire difference is that one of them spent their money buying the appearance of wealth, and the other spent theirs buying the real thing. And the real thing has never once needed to be seen. So let me give you the one idea to take out of all 17 signs, the master key that makes the whole lie detector. Work every single sign comes down to a single question you can now ask about anyone, including yourself. Is this person's money making noise or making more money? Because that's the fork in the road. Money that's being performed, worn, flashed, financed, photographed, name-dropped is money leaving forever in exchange for an audience's impression. Money that's being built, invested, owned, saved, compounding out of sight, makes no sound at all, which is exactly why you never see it and never hear about it. The loudest person in the room is almost never the richest. The richest person in the room is almost always the one you overlooked. So the next time your brain does that ancient thing, sees the flash, the logos, the car, the confidence, and whispers that person is rich, I want you to stop and run the detector. Ask where the engine is. Ask what they own versus what they owe. Ask whether the display is financed. Ask if the piece is real or if the eyes are stressed. And more often than not, you'll realize the person performing wealth the hardest is the one who has the least of it. And here's the last thing, the part that actually matters for you. This isn't really about judging other people or catching frauds at parties. It's a mirror, because the same forces pushing that person to perform wealth they don't have are pushing on you too, every single day, from every screen you own. So use these 17 signs on the world, yes, but mostly use them on yourself. Every time you feel the pull to buy the logo, flash the upgrade, grab the check for the audience, finance the thing you can't afford to look like someone you're not, recognize it for exactly what it is. A trade where you hand over real, hard-won money in exchange for other people's temporary impression of you. And that is the worst trade in the world, because the impression fades by morning and the money is gone forever. The people who actually get wealthy made the opposite trade. Over and over. They chose to look ordinary and be free. They let the world overlook them and use the space that bought to build something real. So stop trying to look rich. It's the single most expensive thing a person can do. Aim instead to be the quiet one at the valet stand that everybody walks right past. The one in the plain jacket with the ordinary car and nothing to prove, who owns everything and owes nothing, and goes home every night to the one thing all that performing was supposed to buy and never does. Peace.